to AstroEnergy with astrologer angel Shelley Overton. Hello and welcome to the AstroEnergy show on Blog Talk Radio. My name is Shelley Overton and I'm excited to be here. This is a gorgeous spring day. I hope it's a beautiful day where you are. I am in Orlando and it is phenomenal. I have been outside already watering the garden, and I think it's it was 51 when I woke up this morning. It's at 71 now, on its way to 82 and sunny. So I don't generally like to brag about the weather because honestly it gets so flipping hot here in the summer and the humidity and everything, but boy, sometimes we do get some gorgeous weather, and it's happening right now. So lots to talk about today. Have you been enjoying your week? I hope you have. Making sure everybody can hear me if you are in the chat room. Right now we have no one in the chat room. And if you're listening and want to call in and get a reading today, the number is 347-994-3365. So let's just talk a little bit about astrology. I think that's probably why you're here, right? So currently in Orlando, actually, let's just even update this chart a little bit more. It's at, it was at 10:50, so now it's 11 o'clock. So we have a Cancer rising, and we have, let's just go around it, Jupiter at 14 degrees Virgo, Mars at 8 degrees Sagittarius, coming up on Saturn at 16 Sagittarius retrograde. Pluto is at 17 Capricorn, Neptune at 10 degrees Pisces, Moon is at 20 Pisces, and the South Node is at 21 Pisces, and so that makes the North Node also conjunct Jupiter at 21, so they're about 7 degrees apart, which is about as wide as I'm going to call it conjunct. We have Venus at 29 degrees Pisces, Sun at 16 Aries, conjunct Uranus at 20 Aries, and Mercury at 29 Aries. So what does that tell you? Can you guess what that means just out of the gate looking at that? It means that Venus is about to go into her next sign, which is Aries, at 12:50 Eastern today, and that's 9:50 a.m. Pacific. So she's about as late a degree as she can get. There's only 3 minutes of time, so literally an hour, 50 minutes even after the show ends, she's going to be going into a new sign. So we're going to be talking about her in a minute. Later tonight at 7:09 p.m., Mercury gets out of his sign, which is currently Aries, and he goes into Taurus. So there's going to be a big shift today. And let's see, the moon also will be going later tonight, Eastern time. She goes till tomorrow, but Pacific time at 2:45 she will go into Aries, and at 2:45 in the morning Eastern, the moon goes into Aries. So we've got a lot of Aries energy floating around, but currently we still have a lot of Pisces energy, at least for another hour. So today, well, actually, I also kind of want to talk a little bit about what's going on with Saturn and the Sun-Uranus conjunction, because right now Saturn's at 16 and the Sun is at 16. So literally within 1 minute of time to trine. So Saturn's at 16 degrees and 18 minutes, and the Sun is at 16 degrees 17 minutes. So within 1 minute of astrological time, which is pretty close to 1 minute when it comes to the Sun, it's pretty close to being exact at 18. So the Sun, again, ego, especially in Aries, is about taking action, being right there, moving forward, conjunct Uranus, expanding ideas, concepts, everything around. It can be from blood work being done to the unexpected, to inventions, to electrical, to something happening on the internet that relates to ego. This is something I would say, so many people do social media. Somebody may come up and do something again, and it's not surprising because there's so much going on lately with intrigue and social media conflicts, that it wouldn't be surprising to have another issue come up today. And again, it's going to be an ego issue because the Sun is conjunct Uranus. So not only that, like if you read that, it could be people acting in ways that definitely try to upset the apple cart and to shift and change people's ideology. That's a huge Aquarian slash Uranus energy of whatever is the norm, let's make it look at itself. Like challenging the dogma, challenging the structure and the system, and wanting to shine a mirror back on hypocrisy. So something is going to probably arise today. And there's so much going on. It's hard to say, well, yeah, that's because of this, because it's Uranus. It's been hitting us for a while with Mercury right there on Uranus too. And so that being said, we have Venus at her end degrees of Pisces. So she's wrapping up the story, the karma, the desires, what has been her realm, her intuitive realm. This is mother's intuition. This is feminine intuition. And as she goes into Aries, she gets dropped into the middle of the yang energy, the masculine energy. And so women will arise and stand up for themselves. That's what they're about to do. So Mercury it's a neutral energy, Mercury. He's at the end degrees of Aries. So he's been uh, affecting both men and women because he's got the masculine side of Aries, but there's also a feminine, neutral, mental energy and non-emotional energy about Mercury. And generally, Mercury doesn't really care too much if he hurts your feelings because he ends up just reasoning it away or analyzing it away. So he's about to go into Taurus, so we'll get to that in a second. But Venus in Aries is definitely assertive energy. And I was watching Dancing with the Stars last night with my daughter, and she's we there was a woman, she just loves that show. There was a woman on it who ended up she is a boxer, and I just thought to myself, man, if that isn't an energy of Aries Venus, I don't know what is. So yeah, that's the kind of energy we're into. Like she was a very beautiful woman, and not that that matters necessarily, but you don't generally think of someone, because it's a Venus energy. Beauty in looks generally is ruled by Venus and positive aspects to Venus as kind of a stereotype. And so that Venus energy in the Aries territory, again, Venus in Aries, it's aggression. It's asserting yourself in a masculine formula. It's the energy of women firefighters and women police and things like that, female cops. So it's just the men's world, quote unquote. So we're going to be seeing more of that. And it's something like, in politics, especially because there will be some inconjunct energy going on with Jupiter. Probably within a couple of weeks, Venus is going to be really inciting Hillary Clinton to stand up and say something about who she is and where she's coming from, because it's that very assertive energy. Also, within the next week, we have Pluto retrograding, I believe, very soon. Mars retrogrades, I think, within a day of each other, I want to say. Let me see here real quick. Aries. Yeah. So Mars retrogrades around the 17th, and I'm just eyeballing on my chart here. Mars retrogrades on the 17th, and Pluto retrogrades on the 18th. So that's pretty phenomenal within a day of each other. So it's intense energy. And it's a very aggressive energy because Pluto and Mars are wanting to act out and move forward, but the retrograde motion from where we are in the sky is pulling back. So they're having to, it's kind of like, when you want to hit somebody and throw a punch, no gloves on, but now you have gloves and people are holding back your arms. That's what's going on. So hang on one second. I'm sorry. I just had a little tickle in my throat. So, yeah, we have this intense energy coming in, and we really do. I mean, there's been a lot of positive fire energy in the sky. We have Sun in Aries, Uranus in Aries, Mercury in Aries, Mars in Sagittarius, and Saturn in Sagittarius. But because Jupiter, which rules Sagittarius, is also that expansive energy of fire, the fire energy it rules Sagittarius, it's retrograde. Saturn's been retrograde. Now we have Mars in Sag retrograde, and Pluto, which is in Capricorn and squares Aries energy, is going to be retrograde. So it is going to be feeling this strong time of I don't know how to say the word. It's innocuous time. So you're feeling like you're not able to actually manifest or take action. And I'm definitely a believer that it's all part of the cosmic plan, that energies are happening the way they are for a reason. We are being asked to really look internally and look at our vision for what we truly want, our internal motivations, how we have societally, boy, what the heck? Mercury and Aries at N degrees really having its way with me. How that energy is expressed. And it's really getting quelled. It is going to be tamped down. And because this strong desire to move forward is now going to be squelched, we're going to have to look within and try and work on ourselves. That's really where the attention needs to go, and do behind the scenes work. And a lot of times we'll be going back over what we've already accomplished, where we've already headed in the last few months with what we're doing. Now, Venus in Aries is going to mean there's a more assertive feminine. So they're going to be behaving more like men, and saying, "Hey, this is who I am. You got to pay attention to me. I'm going to take action." And so, kind of at that point, when Mars goes retrograde, Mars answers to Jupiter, which is also retrograde, but Venus and Aries, Venus answers to Mars, and so there's going to be an innocuous. I can't even hear myself. I have a plugged ear too. So there's going to be an innocuous quality to this as well. So yeah, it's it's a pretty intense energy, and honestly, I'm telling you, Venus at N degrees of Pisces, I'm sitting here looking at the board. There are no calls today, and that never happens. So it kind of makes me wonder if everything's going accurately with the show, because there should be some caller. So if you're listening and would like a live reading, please do call in. The number 347-994-3365. And I'm wondering a little bit if it might have to do with calling in on Skype, because Blog Talk has its own call-in format, and if you don't use it, I wonder if there's something to do with that they're not promoting it somehow. I don't know. It's kind of odd, and I've definitely put it out there. So, Venus at N degrees, it wouldn't surprise me. So this is going to probably be a mostly archival show and listening, but a big part of the show is taking callers. So without callers, I guess I'm going to ramble on until I can't ramble anymore. So let's see what else. Actually, hang on one more second here. Trying to get my ear to work, but it's still a little funky. Okay. Anyway, so let's just go around the chart since we have the time, and we'll see if anybody pops in here. And real quick, let me see if I can go over and send another little shout out for everybody. Live, we're live right now, everybody. I don't know. Let's put it on Twitter, shall we? Okay, let me send that message again. See if I don't know if that worked. Did it work? Send. Okay, there we go. Okay, so anyway, Cancer, well, that's the rising sign, and that isn't where everybody is right now, and that changes so rapidly. We're just going to blow past that. So Jupiter today is squaring Saturn. So Jupiter in Virgo is the energy of education, and it's retrograde right now. It's interesting because my daughter has had her French class. The teacher is MIA most of the time, from what it sounds like, and it's really difficult. She's not even really learning a whole lot of French, and so French being a foreign language, that completely resonates to Jupiter retrograde in Virgo because it's the education element, and it's also the element of foreign cultures and linguistics because of the not Gemini, excuse me, the Mercury rulership of Virgo that rules communications. So, having difficulty with foreign language or with communicating your point in an unfamiliar foreign culture or foreign setting, it can come about right now. A direct square to Saturn is, well, of course, Jupiter rules Sagittarius, where Saturn is right now. So there's that strong energy of restriction and not being able to move forward and get our needs met. For some reason, my mind is just swimming. I think it must be the moon in Pisces and Venus at N degrees. I'm just kind of really floaty all of a sudden. So, anyway, I apologize if I'm sounding a little bit funny today. Yeah, and then Mars at 8 degrees. So Mars is also within 6 degrees of an exact square to Jupiter. So again, this is the similar energy that I was speaking about at the beginning of the show with having your ideas and your connections to others thwarted. So if you are in a relationship or thinking of having a relationship, or know somebody in a foreign city that you're going to be connecting to, it won't necessarily go as you think it should. You might connect. Definitely, there's an energy of connection with Mars coming up on Saturn. So Mars is taking the action and Saturn is the structure. So there is a meeting of the minds, a meeting of taking action and actually having the meeting. But the fruition of the meeting, what the subject is and how it's actually going to manifest after the meeting, may not come about until after Mars goes direct or Saturn goes direct. So when is that, you ask? Well, Saturn goes direct in August, and it's the 12th of August. And Mars goes direct. I just took my glasses off. Give me a second to clean them. Okay, there we go. And Mars goes direct on the 28th of June. So it's going to be a little bit of time. And actually, July still has Saturn retrograde, but fortunately, Mars will be going forward in July. And honestly, I think Mars in Scorpio is definitely ramping up these energies. So, yeah, it's the energies in the political arena. So, anyway, this is a funny, different show for me. It's feeling really unusual energy. So it almost feels like I'm in a dead zone, and I don't know why. But I never not have people waiting in line, so it just is a bit disconcerting for me. Anyway, so let's see. North Node is a really positive energy, positive, expansive energy in Virgo, and that can also, again, make us want to be alone. It might bring up health issues to people who have Virgo in strategic places conjunct other planets. And this is the energy of digestion and, energy that we have a healing opportunity. So if you're starting to feel drawn towards that, it is the energy that is an overriding lesson of our life, wherever it falls in our chart. So look at your North Node, and you can kind of look towards themes in your life. My North Node is in Gemini in the 8th house. So, it is about money from others, value of others, communicating your truth, and the the having dual attitudes towards people. And it's still something like your north node is really the energy that you're trying to work towards. So it may not be something that you really understand or you're completely familiar with, because the south node is where you had a past life and what you come into this world with. And so when you look to the south node, you see what's familiar. And currently, because the energies are overlaid on the masses right now, there is some energy of the past coming in, people from the past. The moon is 1 degree off of the south node in Pisces. So it is about the story. It's about karma, karmic relationships, karma with your mom. Um, the moon energy, expansive, nurturing energy around moms. And so definitely today is a day where, mom or issues around our mothers is more punctuated. Let's see. What else can I talk about? It would be great if you're in the chat room. I want to say hi to my guests in the chat room. If you have any questions to ask about astrology, now is a great time to do that. I'm just, I'm just in such a weird mental state because my chart, my personal chart, has 4 planets in Virgo. So I've got Saturn and Mars squaring that. I've got Pisces opposing that, and I have all the Aries planets in conjunct to all my Virgo, and then Jupiter's in my Virgo retrograde. So it's definitely a time of pulling back and restructuring, evaluating the drive to go forward, to really embrace unusual, unique ideas, and look at health issues. The health issues is a really strong thing coming up right now because, and I've said this before on the radio, with Mars and Sagittarius, it's about getting out and getting exercise and connecting to spirit through the movement of the body. And it focuses on the lower half of the body. And so, you may want to do something that stimulates the lower half of your body. And at the same time, the Virgo energy with Jupiter is very much about the digestion. So right now, we're really focused from the belly button down on our physical bodies. So, and it can also mean with Pluto about to retrograde, it can mean digestive systems and processing, kidneys and toxic things. We may be feeling that there's more toxicity in our lives right now. And Venus actually is also about diet, about what we use to nurture the body. Since Venus rules the second house, it's the area of the body. So Venus about to go into Aries, it's more fire energy. So, this is a way to understand a bit about astrology is when you overlay some of the rulerships of the energies, you can be a detective and find out more information. So Venus being at N degrees of Pisces, Pisces rules the feet. It's about where we've been, that icon of the feet in the sand, where have you been and where are you going? So when Venus gets into Aries, it's about where do you desire to go? What makes you say, yeah, I want to do more with that. I want to take action on that. And it can also be more sales. Venus in Aries is the salesperson. So it means that more people are buying, and people who sell who are Aries naturally are going to have a better time selling. So, yeah, it's also for 29 degrees, very karmic point. It's a culmination of karma. And so we can see the story finish off. Oh, I'm sorry, man. Venus rules in Pisces rules sleep, and I think my sugar intake has been high this morning. I made cookies yesterday, and I had a couple cookies, so I was having a little bit of a panicky sugar moment there before the show started, and I think I'm on my sugar down, my sugar crash at this point. But Yeah, so as Venus goes into Aries, you can see more sales coming in, more of that energy around desire and purchasing. So it's a really good time for Aries to do some really good sales. Um, Sun, let me see, what was I saying? So I was talking about, okay, Virgo and Pisces. And then we have Aries energy. Hold on, list of callers. Okay, never mind. I was just looking at my callers list. So I wonder if people are having a difficult time calling in too. That might be the issue. I don't know. It's so strange. So Venus and Mercury at N degrees. Note to self: don't schedule shows for that because it just isn't happening. Anyway, yeah, Mercury and Aries at the N degree, coupled with Venus at 20, and they're both at 29 degrees. And so this is kind of actually an interesting thing to talk about too, because I am getting ready to do my taxes, and when you want to put your taxes in, and you don't want anything unusual to happen, the N degrees of the moon, right before it goes into another sign, is a really good time to do that. And obviously with Venus at N degrees and Mercury at N degrees, astrologically, you have the movement from 0, which is the initiating energy, all the way through the N degrees, which is 28, 29, which culminates and finishes. It's kind of like when the moon is new and then when the moon is full. And so that energy will express that way. So as the planets come in to a sign, they are fresh and new and initiating energy. And when they leave the sign, then they culminate and they've wrapped it up, they're finishing, and they're really kind of, at the N degrees, there's really, especially if they're not conjuncting anything or any other aspects to other planets, they're just kind of floating aimlessly, so to speak. They're not really interacting with anyone or any energies. So then you can translate that into what it's like in the earth plane in day-to-day life, and those planets will just like have an ineffectual quality about them, that they're not really going to do anything. So when we see this energy right now, it's interesting because while Venus is at 29:57 and Mercury is at 29:26, they're actually aspecting each other. Venus is aspecting, will continue to aspect Mercury until she goes into Aries, because Mercury does not go into Taurus until after Venus gets into Aries, which means Venus will cross that point into the new sign after she is continually connected to Mercury and go over that exact point in her degree. So she's, transited over it, and so she'll get into her sign before Mercury gets into his. And let me just look at some of that energy here while I'm discussing. So actually, you know what I want to do? I want to go to the different part of my calendar here. So I have a chart, and then I have a day-to-day. And so yeah, so it's within. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh no, I did say that. Okay, never mind. Venus goes into Aries at 12:50, just after lunch. My mind was thinking it was later in the morning, like 12:50, like in the middle of the night. But yeah, she goes in just after the show, and then Mercury goes in at 7 tonight. So she's already transited past that exacting conjunct to Mercury, and now she's pretty much flying free. I don't see any other N degrees that she's going to connect to. So she is a little bit void, and my ephemeris here dates, and this is the Llewellyn's Daily Planetary Guide. It says that the moon sextiles Pluto today until the moon enters Aries, which is also tonight, by the way. So, yeah, we have 3 quick-moving bodies in the heavens shifting signs in the next 12 hours, which is pretty amazing. And then we have those 2 shifts later on, like I said, with Mars and Pluto later this month shifting within a day of each other as well. So there's a lot of powerful, potent energy hitting at one time. So anyway, you know what? I'm just trying to see if there's anything else I really have pressing that I wanted to tell you. I wrote down a little note to tell you on my phone so that I could remember to say everything, and if I can only find it here. So I could tell you that and express something. Let's see. So, energy of retrogrades for one sign is a progression into the new sign. This I may have already repeated this, but I just want to read it out loud so that I have it recorded. Then retrograding back into an old sign means that we have to wrap up all issues. And then part of the progression that we have is to have the experience and to make sure that we are completed with the issues that we have been dealing with in the past. So, is this where we really want to go? Is this something that we've really wrapped everything of the past up and now we can move forward with a clean slate? So, that's kind of where we're going over the summer with Mars and Jupiter and Pluto, and also Uranus, Neptune retrograde over the course of the rest of the year as well. So we'll be feeling that energy. But currently, it is a very strong forward motion of Uranus and the Sun conjunct. So if you're looking to start an endeavor, definitely for something that has a strong online connection, now is a really good time. Mercury at N degrees is a little concerning if it's going to have an announcement associated with it. Now, I worked on some graphic job for a retail outlet, which opens Friday of this week. Technically, is their grand opening, but last Friday was their soft opening. So after, so this Friday we'll have Mercury in the sign of Taurus, which is money from retail, and then we'll have Venus already into Aries, which is really great for retail outlets because of the sales aspect. So that's pretty awesome. And then we see Moon by Friday will be into Taurus as well. So that's a really auspicious opening as far as having something really burst onto the scene and your identity be known. That, honestly, if there was a given window to do something, that would be the window I would suggest. If it were within weeks here or there, I would say, yes, this is fine. But definitely want to avoid some of these N degrees like today of starting a new business. But tomorrow will be so much better and phenomenal to get going on a new project. Definitely with the Moon in Aries, Venus in Aries, and Mercury in Taurus now, that would be a wonderful time. And before Mars gets with Saturn, going to be a time where, if you want to get something done, you may have to go back over it, but at least Mars is going direct before it goes retrograde, so that'll give you a little bit of time. Let's see, about 10 days, 10, 14 to about 2 weeks, which translates by progression into about 8 years. So, although we should probably look that up more based on Mars, because I know the Sun, it would be that long, but before it actually affects you. But Mars, because of the length of time, I'm going to look that up. I don't know if you even understand what I'm saying, because I think at this point I'm rambling. A big part of what I like to do is bounce stuff off of other people. And I probably could do a chart for the second half of the show. I'm going to probably take a break here and decide whether or not to do the second half of the show without callers, because honestly, because there are no callers, I think that there's something wrong with the system, because, it just never happens like that. And that tells me that something's odd. Especially by this point in the show, I should have a lot coming in. So I think there's probably a glitch in the system. So I'm sorry. What I'm doing is looking up. There's a way of doing astrology where a progression is the equivalent of 1 day equals 1 year. So in any event, when you progress it in the future, if you want to know what it's going to be like in 5 years, you add 5 days to it and do a chart for 5 days. And then that can give you clues as to influences 5 years from that date. So what I'm looking up is if you start something now, let's see, through April 17th. Let me look at the exact day. So Mars goes retrograde on the 17th. So between now, which is the 5th, and the 17th, that's 12 days. So if you go forward 12 days, and I'm going to do that right now. So today's the 5th, and we go forward 12 days. 12 years from now, Mars will retrograde by progression, because that's what he does 12 days from now. So 12 years from now, by progression, Mars retrogrades. So that being said, for instance, for my friend who owns the retail shop, she opens up, say her hard opening is the H, okay? 4 years from now, the Mars for that business is going to be by progression retrograding, which means pulling back in, pulling away, and it could mean a couple things. It could mean that she might decide she doesn't want to do retail anymore and close the shop, or she might look more into foreign affairs and doing things over the internet with other cultures, with other places. So, it just depends on other planetary aspects. So, anyway, honestly, because there are no colors and I don't necessarily have any charts that are pressing right now that I want to go over. I mean, I really could probably spend an hour on any celebrity chart, but it's. I think I'm just going to end the show, and we'll come back up next week, and the planets will be a little bit more supportive of talking to callers, one of my favorite things to do. So that being said, I want to thank you for listening this week, and please do call in next week and have your questions ready. And if there's anything that's pressing, please do let me know. If you would like a reading, my name is Shelley Overton. My website is astrologerangel.com, and I love doing readings. I love getting into the details of your chart. I'm really good at giving you information about timing and why things are happening. I do a lot of soul reading, so you can find out reasons why things would happen, and more comes up when you start to really interject the chart with what's going on in the sky currently and another person's chart. So if you want to do a compatibility, that's a great type of reading that I love to do as well, and help you understand other people. It's kind of the whole reason I got into astrology. So anyway, that being said, I want to thank you for listening to this week's show. And one last thing I wanted to ask you to do too. I'm glad I remembered this. Please go on iTunes and look up my show and give it a review, because if you give it a review there, it gets out more so people can find me, and that would be really wonderful if you could do that. So just go to the iTunes app and go to the podcasts section, type in AstroEnergy, and when it comes up, it has the option to review it. Just click that and write a little review, and I would be forever grateful if you could do that. So anyway, that's the show for today, and thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next week. Thanks for stopping by AstroEnergy this week. If you would like to get a hold of Shelley Overton, you can get her at astrologerangel.com, on Facebook at AstroEnergy or Astrologer Angel. The music was provided by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com, with additional music by Ironwood Rain. Check them out on the net at Ironwood